Thanks, everyone, and welcome back to Patriot to the Core podcast. I am Thad Forrester. Thank you for joining us again this week. We have Carter Henry as our guest, and she is a member of the Navy. And I've got her on because she recently organized and wrote a book called the Hero Workouts. And if you're familiar with Hero WODs, I think that was actually started in the Crossfit community, I do believe. And so she started doing these Hero WODs, which are workouts of the day, and she realized she wanted to really understand the background behind them because they are named for a fallen hero, whether it's military personnel or some first responders. And so she realized there just wasn't enough information out there, she felt like, and so in these gyms were hosting these WODs, but people didn't really know about the backstory. So she went in search of these people and how they died, how they lived, and why the workout is named after them. And then so people who do the workout can kind of understand the backstory and see that they were a son or a husband or, a mother or a sister or a father. So anyway, they are someone's loved one, and it's great to know the backstory behind all these people. So it's an awesome book. She's got a picture of each person. She's got also not only things about themselves, about the fallen, but also maybe different foundations that they started, organizations that their family started. And she also gives details of the workout itself and explains maybe exactly what to do for men and for women. So it's a great book. It's really good. I think gyms that CrossFit boxes should have this, and that way when you do a WOD for someone that you don't know personally, which is almost always the case, you could actually read about them. So I'm glad to have Carter on, and we'll bring her in. Carter Henry, welcome to Patriot to the Core.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you on the show. We mainly want to talk about the book, the Hero Workouts, that just came out. And I got mine in the mail, I think, almost a week ago. I pre-ordered it. But first, I would just like to, what can you tell us about you and your background that would maybe even make you be interested in doing something like this?
So I joined the Navy in 2011, graduated from officer candidate school in 2012, bounced around the country with a couple of duty stations, getting ready for my fourth deployment overseas. And just in doing that, I've had a lot of exposure to the stories that come in the book and some of the people. I'm thankful to say that nobody I know personally has ever been killed in combat, but I don't think there's a single person I work with who doesn't know somebody or hasn't been affected by the death of somebody they care about. So that was a lot of the motivation in getting the book started.
So have you always been active and exercised?
I was not until I joined the military. Getting through college, I just kind of coasted, and getting ready for officer candidate school, found out I had to learn how to do push-ups. And then a few years later, I found out I had to learn how to do pull-ups. And so it's been a slow, steady progression to fitness.
That's interesting. Brings up an interesting point. How many pull-ups do you have to do?
For one of the jobs I had, I needed to be able to do 6. I've gotten up to 10, but that's as far as I've gotten.
Hey, that's good. 10 is definitely good. What about pull-ups? Do you do, is it regular pull-up? Push-ups? Is it what we call girl push-ups?
Nope, gotta do strict real push-ups.
Okay,
no, the assisted or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. How many of those do you have to hit?
For us, the maximum we need is 50, so I usually shoot for at least that.
Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. So what about? Are you athletic growing up? Did you play sports?
No, did a little bit of high school track, but it wasn't for me. I was the one trying to throw a shot put in the background. Was not my natural talent. So I tried a little bit of CrossFit when I came into the military. It was popular, just getting started at the time. And now I just kind of do a little bit of everything. I absolutely love to swim. Running's okay, and weightlifting's where I try to spend most of my time.
Okay. Are you able to do it as part of your job?
Yeah, we definitely get allotted time to go work out and stay fit, so that's always appreciated.
Yeah.
Great pool nearby our base outdoors, and yeah, so definitely take advantage.
Nice. So let's talk about the book. It's called the Hero Workouts book, and I'm curious, will you just give us the background of how in the world this got started, and and I'm interested too in how you chose the workouts that you did.
Sure. So I was away at a training course and just kind of talking to some friends who were into CrossFit, and it came up. I think a friend of a friend, her husband had died and was in the book. And I'll be honest, I never spoke with her, so I won't say who that was. But she, hearing the story and unfortunately hearing a little what the disparity was in the CrossFit gyms, how they did these workouts. I met some gyms that just did the workout, kind of said who the person was, and then you'd see comments online with, yeah, good workout, let's go get a beer. And I kind of thought it missed the point of what the hero workouts were supposed to be about. I ended up reading an article, and I wish I could remember the author's name. He's some fitness coach, called The Proper Way to Do a Hero WOD. And it was very much about taking the time to learn about the person and then finding a way to make the workout valuable. And his thing was pass the hat around, throw $5 in, and give something back to their family charity, their scholarship, whatever it is that is in their honor. So that got me thinking. I set out to do 52 Hero WODs in a year, one a week, and I wasn't benefiting anybody but myself in doing that. I was just getting stronger. I wasn't helping anybody. So in talking to these friends who were into CrossFit and a couple of gyms, and I saw that there was a nexus where there was a gap. CrossFit only provides a couple lines on each of these people, and then it's on a gym or an individual to go research these people if they want their legacy and their story put out with the workout. So creating the book was kind of the shortcut to that. Who was this person? What's their workout? And how can I give my money or my time back in their honor?
So how did you come up with why did you choose the ones you did, or was it just random? Because there are definitely a lot more out there that exist.
Oh, there are, and I'll say now I very much want to do a second volume because there are that many. This is just the first 100. Right now I think I have a list of 160, and I'm probably 80 to 90 behind. I basically went on to CrossFit, had their blessing, of course, that the workouts weren't copyrighted and that this was good to go. Went through and just wrote down every single one I could find dating back to the first day of their public blog. And
which was when?
That was maybe 2006.
Okay. Wow.
And because I want to say the first official one wasn't Murph, it was Mike McGreevy's workout. And then shortly thereafter was Murph, which is pretty famous. It's always done on Memorial Day. And I kind of started with what I felt were the core workouts, the oldest ones. And then when I got into the newer ones, I had to start diverting to the ones that I felt were the most readily available to find information about. And I also tried to make an effort to make sure all of the services and a lot of the first responders and law enforcement were represented. There's unfortunately a lot of Army guys, just with the way the recent wars have gone. Mm-hmm. So there was some math that went into deciding who would be represented.
So what stories stood out to you the most?
Well, there's a couple. I'll say Indian 617. That one was important to me because I was in the strike group where those two pilots were killed. And then I'm in San Diego, so the gym that hosts that workout, that one was kind of personally important to me. I can say honestly, your brother's workout stood out to me. That was the very first one that I wrote or researched. And that selection was random, but his story ended up not being. It was one of the ones I spent the most time researching, and one of the more remarkable people. And I'll also say I think Michael Weston, his story was really amazing because of the irregularities in his service. He was I believe a Harvard-educated lawyer who joined the Marine Corps infantry in the reserves, and then eventually became a JAG officer. And reading his story, just absolutely unique person and really unique service. And again, I could go on. There's so many of these people had so much more I wanted to put about them, and there just wasn't room, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you do a great job of describing the people, and I'll just take you. So you spoke of my brothers. So for those who don't know, my brother Mark's WOD, Hero WOD, is called JAG 28. And so your book does it. You do a great job of explaining Mark. And by the way, thank you for spelling his last name correctly, because you may not know that is commonly misspelled, like 98% of the time. So whenever anybody does anything on Mark, I always make sure I stress, make sure you get the spelling right. But you also clarify because one of the things, so Mark's WOD is you're going to run 800 meters, 28 kettlebell swings, 2 POOD is the weight, which is about 70 pounds, 72 pounds, something like that. Then you're going to do 28 strict pull-ups, 28 kettlebell clean and jerks, that's 2 POOD again in the weight, and then 28 strict pull-ups again, and then run 800 meters. So, but I like how you clarified that the kettlebell clean and jerks are for each hand. So 2 POOD for each hand, because there has been some confusion. You know, I've done this workout several times at a few different gyms, and sometimes people have wondered, okay, are we going to do 14 on each hand or 28? And so I like how you clarified that, because I would expect only the hardest to be official anyway.
No, that's good.
That's a killer, and I know Mark's friend who actually put that WOD together and submitted it. He did it at his gym in Nebraska, him and the box owner, and then they submitted it, and CrossFit officially adopted it. Do you know how that works? How does a WOD, Hero WOD, get created and then adopted by official CrossFit?
Well, I can only speak to it vaguely. So a friend of a friend also was roommates with a guy who was killed, and when he and the guy's fiance put together the workout, they said they basically just submitted it up to CrossFit with his bio, who he was, and this is, I think, actually worth mentioning. So there's another workout in the book called Legion 8, and Legion 8 is a memorial workout, but it's not a CrossFit workout. And I bring that up because talking to the guy who runs the workout, he had said that they could not get approval from CrossFit for it to become an official, and he believed it was tied into the fact that all of the 8 people that were represented in the workout were not all CrossFitters. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, because I've certainly seen some that I had nothing to believe that all the people in the workout were CrossFit. So I think there's some vagueness in the process, and I would one day like to clarify what that is.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, I know my brother did do CrossFit. I mean, he kind of did it more on his own, but he definitely got in his own kettlebells, and he introduced it to some folks at his fire base, I know, in Afghanistan. But what workout was the most difficult for you?
Well, I haven't, the 52 I did, most of them are in the book. They were all really hard in some way or another. And I remember, Michael Weston's workout snuck up on me. I remember I was out in a tent gym doing that one, and it has a bunch of rowing and then waiter carries with kettlebells. And I have never felt like my forearms were going to fall off like I did during that workout. I looked at it and I said, I'm kind of tired today. This one looks pretty achievable. And by the second round, I was very much regretting it. I would also say Michael Strange's workout, titled Strange, was extraordinarily difficult. Weighted pull-ups, and it's running, weighted pull-ups, lunges, and thrusters. And that combination, again, it's 8 rounds, and by the second one, you're questioning your decision to do the workout for sure.
That's a burner, yeah. Wow. What about? I'm looking at some of these here, and there's some that stood out to me, like Griff. All right.
Okay.
So
I love Griff. That's a good one.
Wow. So I just want to mention, this is Staff Sergeant Travis Griffin, and he was killed in 2008. And you look at the workout, and it says 2 rounds for time. So it's very short as far as the list. You're going to run 800 meters, and then you're going to run backwards 400 meters, and you'll do that 2 times. What in the world is that like, running backwards?
So both times I've done this workout, once was on a straightaway, so it wasn't too bad. The other time was on a track. It's definitely confusing. Your body doesn't know what's going on. And both times I was remarkably sore. You're using muscles in a way you just don't usually use them. So even if you knock this out in, like you said, not a very long period of time, you're hurting the next day. definitely hurting.
Yeah, I can see how some of these are deceptive. And my dad, thank you. You sent my parents a book. And my dad had said, Dad, some of these don't look that hard. And I was like, Dad, they're deceptive. I mean, they may have a few items, but look how many rounds you got to do, or if you've got to do it in a certain period of time. I think, yeah, they're pretty tough. Looking at Lieutenant Brendan Looney, and I'm familiar with him because I read the book Brothers Forever. I know the author of that book, Tom Saleo, and I've had. Brendan was good friends with Travis Manion, and so Travis Manion's sister has been on the podcast talking about the Travis Manion Foundation and him. But so Looney is 7 rounds of running 400 meters and 20 overhead lunges with 95 pounds if you're a male and 65 pounds as a female. Is that what that's for?
That's correct, yeah.
So, I mean, first glance may look like it's not too bad, but I'm sure that's a smoker.
Yeah, and the great thing about these workouts is it really is what you put into them. I will say that with some of them, it was absolutely just completing them was maximum effort. And other ones, that if you just push a little bit harder, it'll be that much worse for you. And so ones like that, you're moving quickly and you're moving with a purpose, and it'll get you.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to. Will you explain the 7?
The 7, sure.
Yeah, that one's touching too, especially because I want to talk about the 3 wise men. I think they're part of that.
Sure. So just the story behind it?
Yeah. Will you?
Yeah. So the 7 is dedicated to a mixed bunch of people, and it's around. It was made popular with the story as Zero Dark 30, the movie. But that was on Forward Operating Base Chapman, and that was a suicide bomb attack that killed a mix of security personnel and CIA agents. So that was definitely a unique workout for sure.
And then what about so as part of that, you've got the Wise brothers.
Yes.
And that's very sad. I mean, I'm very sensitive when it comes to a brother, a sibling, especially a brother. So you've got 3 brothers that end up all joining the military. Two of them are killed separately. And so the third one the surviving brother is in non-combat duty now. Is that accurate?
That's right. And they, the family, the Wise family, is one of the only double gold star families in the country. I think the last published statistic I read was like 6 or 7 families that have 2 gold stars in the whole country.
Oh wow!
And it's definitely a rarity to lose not 1 child but 2. And they now have their own foundation, the 3 Wise Men Foundation, and they're local here to San Diego. I've spoken to a couple people with their organization, and they do great work. Very veteran focused. So Bo, the youngest brother, is still serving in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, that is it breaks my heart. Do you know what the rule is now? Most of us have seen Saving Private Ryan But what is the rule if you've got brothers or siblings serving? Is it if one is killed, then another one cannot be in combat, or is there a rule, or what?
So I read about this a little bit, and I couldn't exactly find like the standard military guidance per se, but the article, I think it was the Washington Post that did a really long article on the Wise family. The commandant of the Marine Corps technically has the power to remove somebody from a combat role, but at the same time they can't necessarily tell that person to do it. So reading the article, what I got from it was that Bo had willingly stepped out of combat, knowing what the loss of 2 children had already done to his parents.
Yeah.
So, but the commandant, can authorize that. It's like I said, it's such a rarity. It was just a very unique case with their family.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm really glad I was not familiar with the 7 or the 3 wise men. So see, this is it's more than just workouts, right? It is great to get the backstory. And when we do the JAG 28, I usually speak to the group beforehand and tell them about Mark and the meaning. Why you do the pull-ups and why they're strict and why they're 28 and why you start with a run and end with a run. And because the guy that created it, explained to me why they did what they did, and And so I know this. I remember this last year in February we did it in Tuscaloosa at a gym. We've done that several years, and a friend of ours, she had wanted me to, to talk about Mark, and I started talking about the foundation and how thankful for the money that they've donated because it goes to the foundation and what the foundation does. So they understood that, and I just kind of got caught up, and I just didn't really share about Mark. And I know it bothered her because she's very passionate about, talking about him, and I felt bad because I should have explained that because I can't, I shouldn't automatically assume that, oh, well, they've heard me do this every year because there's always new people.
Right.
And I mean, that's the beauty of this book. I mean, the people that do these Hero WODs need to get this book. And by the way, there'll be a link to it. Definitely.
Oh, great.
Is there a better place to get the book besides Amazon, or is that just where you send people?
So I'm very much hoping that it's going to be available at Barnes & Nobles soon. They're also working on the ebook, which I know we've had some requests for the Kindle copy.
Yeah.
Right now, the heroworkouts.com has all of the sources for availability, but yeah, Amazon's pretty much been the primary so far.
Okay. So what's been the reaction from family members that you included in here? And did you have anybody that didn't want to be included?
Well, so I wasn't really sure how to proceed when I started this. The right answer to me seemed like to reach out to do my due diligence in kind of investigative journalism, if you will, and to try to find as many family members, friends, associates as I could to get at least not just the ground truth and to make sure to get my facts straight, but also to try to reflect who they were as people. I was somewhat successful. I got a hold of a lot more people than I thought I would. But of course, when there is the loss of a loved one, not everybody responds publicly. So not every person, has an organization, a foundation, or a scholarship that is an outward face to their family's loss. So in saying that, I got a hold of a lot of people as this went on. And for the most part, I had a very positive reaction. Some families embraced it. They wanted to fact check. They wanted to see what I was writing. They wanted to tweak. They were very involved, and it was great. There were facts and stories I got that I don't think were published or otherwise out there, and I really enjoyed sharing those with them. Right before we published, I got a hold of a few family members because I had actually emailed one family in particular. I emailed the Sons Scholarship Foundation, which was maintained by an area foundation, and they contacted his mother, and she contacted me. And at first there was some trepidation about, well, what is this? Why is my son being included? Wanting the backstory. And by the end of the conversation, everything was great. She proofread everything I had, loved it, and we were good to go. So across the board, it's been really positive. I think a lot of that is because the book is benefiting the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. And, it's actually been a very positive response. Nobody's asked to be discluded that I've contacted, and I've tried to be as outward-facing about what this is and the intent of it. So very positive.
So why did you choose the Special Operations Warrior Foundation for the benefits to go to?
So being in the Navy, my first inclination was to go find a Navy organization, and it became very clear to me reading these books. I mean, these aren't all Navy people. They're not even all military people. And so I will say that, using the Special Operations Warrior Foundation is not fully inclusive. It's not, they're not firefighters and police and what have you, but they do have a tie-in to all of the major military services. And that's what was important to me, is because I wanted people that bought the book to know that they were giving to an organization that wasn't discriminatory to one service. And I think especially the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, they give full scholarships to children whose parents have been killed in the line of combat under the Spec Ops service umbrella. And I think almost anybody can align themselves with that cause. There's really nothing again, discriminatory about that.
Yeah, you picked a good one. I mean, we've been a big fan of the Special Operations Warrior Foundation ever since the death of my brother, and we've supported them. So I think it's great that you're doing that. What's been the reaction from the military or from the CrossFit community?
So CrossFit, big CrossFit, we'll say corporate CrossFit, they don't typically, endorse any kind of product or anything. So other than making sure they wouldn't sue my pants off for writing about the Hero workouts, I've had very little interaction with them. I think it's growing. I'll say I just recently started an Instagram account for the book. I have no social media, so this is all new to me. I feel like a dinosaur. But that's been a positive reaction. A lot of small CrossFit gyms have picked it up. A lot of word of mouth is getting out, more of a grassroots type thing. And then military, you and I talked a little bit before about, they're very cautious when people, of course, go outside of the military with outside employment or, outside endeavors. So there was a lot of fact checking and filing filing with them to make sure that I was safe in what I was doing. And generally supportive. My home command especially has been very excited about this. They can't, make statements of support publicly, but they like what I'm doing and they think it's very unique. So that's been appreciated. Yeah.
So are you working on a volume 2? Is that what you said?
I haven't yet. Just frankly, I'm getting ready for another deployment, so I have not had the spare time. But I wanted to see kind of what the reception was with this. And then hopefully when I get home early next year, I'll be able to start a second one. There's still so many out there and they're getting published all the time. So if this is well received and can do well, then I'll pick another organization to work with and hopefully get to make a second one.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to talk about what are the benefits of doing these workouts. We all know exercise is good, but let's get a little deeper. What are the benefits?
So I think there's a lot of different answers to this, but what I like most about it is if you're doing these quote unquote the right way, you're getting a group of people together. You are not letting somebody's memory die. You are taking the time to read about them. Maybe we recently at my command did one for a brother we lost a few years ago, and his friends came and talked. His fiance has come to speak to us before and even participate in the workout. And it's time to share stories and time to honor that person's memory, and then time to do something that you're giving your time to their memory. And so for a lot of people, it's part of a healing process. And even as the years go by, I think they're seeing that nobody has forgotten. We say never forget all the time. But that nobody has forgotten. They still care. You're still recognizing to the family and friends and their loss. And I really do think it plays into the healing process for a lot of people. Yeah. Absolutely.
One thing I've noticed as I've done them is there is such a sense of camaraderie and support. I think that's probably common with the whole CrossFit culture. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say in doing a lot of research, I rarely see negativity in the CrossFit community. There is that sense of togetherness, the sense of camaraderie, and working together towards a common goal is pretty, I see a lot. And so I think especially with these workouts, they've never been framed as anything less than being very difficult. Just participate, finish the workout, give it your maximum effort, and you're good to go. So I talk in the beginning of the book too about like scaling the workouts and doing what you can. And I've seen videos of grandmas doing memorial workouts because they just want to participate. And I love that acceptance that there's nobody going, well, you can't lift 135 pounds overhead, so you're not going to participate today. Yep. It is really, truly about your maximum effort and how you can honor that individual. And I really love that.
Yeah, and there is such I know my wife was very nervous because she did it with me for the first time this year, and she was basically getting embarrassed before we ever even got there, before we left to even go to the gym. And I was like, you cannot worry about this. And believe me, there are people there of all weights, all skill levels, all different types of physical shape, and nobody cares. Nobody's going to be singling you out. And sure enough, I mean, there's people that struggle big time, but you have that extra drive to push it for this person, for this hero. So it's really an awesome thing to see.
Yeah, I was speaking to one of the moms a couple weeks ago, and prior to me speaking to her, she didn't know that there was a memorial workout for her son because it was 2 of his work associates, I think, that filed the workout for him. And she made me laugh in an email. She goes, this workout looks really, really hard, but I'm training up. I'm going to do it. just put a little smiley face, and she was so excited about it, and I just love that, his mom wanted to get involved and do it.
Yeah. Well, it does nothing but good. I mean, it can motivate people to actually, get up off the couch and do something. So there's a benefit right there, and then just how great you feel after an intense workout. I mean, anybody that's done an intense workout knows that it's a beautiful feeling. And I remember the first time I did the Jag 2-weight. So it was the first CrossFit I'd ever done. My friend from the gym was asking me, because he was a CrossFitter, was like, okay, do you want to do the prescribed weight? I was like, what are you talking about? What is that? He's like, do you want to do what the workout calls, or do you want to scale it down lighter? I said, well, no way. I'm going to do what the workout calls. I had no idea what I was asking for. And I exercise regularly, but, lifting over a 70-plus pound kettlebell, 2 of them over my shoulders, that is dadgum hard to do. In fact, it's actually too hard for I've got what we call fairy shoulders. But, and I didn't realize, too, that I was like, oh, you know what? I don't have to do all 28 pull-ups right now. I can do 2. I can jump down a minute. I can do 2 more. But I kind of had it in my head where I've got to do all 28 right in a row. And I know that's how it's set up. But how many people can do 28 strict pull-ups twice, 2 different times?
Not many. That's for sure.
Especially after you've done everything else and you got to do 28 again. So after I'd done it a few times, I realized, okay, I'm not going to get any help. I'm just going to have to get to the point where I'm doing 2 pull-ups at a time, but I'll get all of them. And Absolutely. So, it's a great feeling. There is so much support, and I've got a good friend that does it every time we do it, and it never fails. He always goes back out and finishes with somebody else after he's already finished.
Oh yeah.
So,
and when we do them at our command, I always love that. They'll give somebody will go hoo-yah and yell the person who's being honored. They'll yell their name, and the whole crowd will just all of a sudden go that much harder and yell back hoo-yah, and there's definitely a spiritual sense of well-being that comes from doing it.
Yeah.
So,
you look around. I've done this. I look around and see all these people on a Saturday morning is when I've done it, and none of them, like 0.1% of them knew my brother, and they're working their butt off, sweating for somebody they don't know. They're very uncomfortable. And, it's incredible what people will do to support others.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, what else, Carter? Anything else in closing about the book or about you or your future?
No. This has been, I have to say it has been a really rewarding process. I was geo-batched at the time I was writing the book, and it was difficult for me to write these stories. It was surrounding myself with a lot of sadness. These are all stories about death and loss, and but it was equally rewarding at the end. I not only learned so much about military culture, again, Navy brat, I don't know anything about the Army or the Marine Corps, learning about them, and really getting into these stories. And then speaking to the family members, it's been an absolute honor. I'm so excited to see that it's actually come to something, and that it's actually going to help somebody somewhere somehow, and raise awareness. It's awesome. I'm glad to have done it.
Well, I think what you did, I like how you said at first how you were doing all these workouts, but they were only benefiting yourself, and so you found a way to benefit many more people by the book and by donating the proceeds to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Really, I cannot say enough good things about this book. I love it. It's like a reference book, but it's also a book that you can read front to back too. And this is one that I shared it on my personal Facebook page a week or two ago, and definitely a lot of people liked it, and I'll do anything I can to promote it because it's worth it, and it's not expensive. It's a great book. You've done a good thing.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you putting the word out. I think we're just 1 week out. It's our 1 week anniversary from release, and it's doing okay. It could use a little more love, but it's getting out there. Yeah,
we got to get the word out, and so hopefully with my few subscribers, we can get the word out too. But I'll put it out online as well. What is your Instagram account?
So my Instagram account is The Real Carter Henry, and we are trying to get the hashtag moving for the Hero workouts. Surprisingly, that hasn't been used yet, so we're trying to get people to tag themselves doing the workouts, and if they'll tag me, I'll definitely promote them back, just getting started. So Yeah, we definitely need pictures of people using the book and putting it to good work.
Good,
So.
good. Well, I'll try to send you something. Of course, that means I've got to figure out my Instagram account and use it. So, which I don't know if I've rarely done, but I'll get on that. And please let me know when you do the Jag 2.8.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I think the dogs are ready for this to be over. So, thank you very much. It was an honor speaking with you, Carter.
I appreciate it. Thanks again.